In the first season, Christopher gets it into his head that nobody has ever written about him. Other guys get books, get articles, get remembered by strangers. He doesn't, and the way he phrases the complaint is that he has no arc. That's the whole man in 3 words. He isn't asking whether he's living well. He's asking whether the footage would cut together for someone watching. And the standard he's measuring against didn't come from his family or his church or anything he worked out for himself. It came from movies, from 100 hours of men in good suits moving slowly through kitchens with a song playing over them. He learned what a mob life is supposed to feel like from films made about the mob, then went and joined the actual thing, and has been quietly disappointed ever since that it doesn't match. The disappointment shows up early and never really leaves. He shoots Emile Kohler in the back room at Satrial's, and what troubles him afterward isn't the body on the floor. It's that nothing happened to him. He'd understood this to be the crossing. The moment a person becomes a different category of person, and he does it and stands there exactly as he was. The transformation was supposed to be included. So he keeps chasing it in other forms. He writes a screenplay about a mob guy, then tries to get it in front of someone who matters. He sees Scorsese outside a club in the pilot and shouts about Kunden and floats for days. Because for a second he stood next to the machine that manufactures the version of his life he actually believes in. Later, he goes out to Hollywood and gets close enough to the industry to smell it, and comes home with nothing but a story about being close. None of it takes. He's a man waiting for his own story to start, and the years keep going past in the meantime. It's worth noticing what he isn't chasing, because it clarifies him. He isn't especially interested in money. He spends it, he doesn't accumulate it, and he's careless with the earning. He isn't interested in power for its own sake either. When he does get a crew, he manages it distractedly and lets it slide. What he wants is significance. He wants to be a person about whom things are said. That's a want you can't satisfy with income, and it makes him permanently vulnerable to anything that promises to confer meaning from outside. Which is why the night he gets made lands on him the way it does. To him, it isn't a promotion. It's the beginning. The ceremony runs about 90 seconds. A candle, a prayer card of a saint set alight in his cupped hands. A needle to the trigger finger. The words, "Betray your friends and you burn like this saint burns." Then it's finished, and he comes out into the dark, and Adriana is waiting by the car, and she's so happy she can't hold still. She reaches for his hand to see the finger. She looks at him like something has finally been settled between the two of them in the world. That's the top of his life. Not the money, not the crew he'll run later, not anything that comes after. 90 seconds of ritual and one woman's face. 3 things are supposed to have happened to him in that room, and each is worth being clear about, because the rest of his life is spent discovering what became of them. He's been recognized. The men who decide these things looked at Dickie Moltisanti's kid, the one who runs errands, talks too much, gets high, wants things badly and visibly, and ruled that he counts. For someone who has spent years suspecting he's a background figure in his uncle's story, that's not a small thing. It's a verdict from the only authority he acknowledges. He's been given a family. His father died when he was a baby and left him a name the crew says warmly, and a son they don't say much about at all. There's a particular kind of loneliness in being the living version of a dead man everyone liked better than you. The ceremony is supposed to close that gap. It gives him a permanent seat in something older than he is and guaranteed to outlast him. And he's been given something sacred. There's a saint, there's fire, there's a soul on the table. He needs this element most, because he's a man who takes signs and visions seriously, and the rite is built precisely for that, to convert a business arrangement into a spiritual condition. He isn't just being hired, he's being consecrated. Adriana is what makes all of it real. Nothing good is finished until somebody who loves you confirms it. A person can be handed a title at 4 in the afternoon and not believe it until they say it out loud at their own kitchen table that night. She's the confirmation. Her happiness isn't decoration on the scene. It's the mechanism that converts a back room full of middle-aged men and a burnt piece of card into an event that occurred. Without her out there under the streetlight, he's a guy standing in a parking lot with a sore finger. She has her own stake in it too, and it's almost mundane. Being made turns him from a guy with potential into a guy with position. And position is the difference between a future and waiting around indefinitely. She isn't performing enthusiasm. Both of them believe precisely the same thing about that night, which is part of why it works and part of why it's so bleak in retrospect. So that's what he thinks he walked out of the room holding. Here's what was actually in the room. Start with the oath, since it's the part he takes. Most seriously, he swears he'll burn in hell if he betrays the family. He has already been to hell. 2 seasons earlier, he takes a bullet, dies on the operating table, and comes back describing an Irish bar where the Irish win every hand of cards, and a Roman soldier tells him he's expected there permanently. He's badly shaken for about a week. He's shaking. He's talking about it constantly. The crew doesn't know what to do with him. Then it fades, the way everything fades with him, and by the night of the ceremony, he's prepared to wager a soul whose destination he was personally shown and has since put out of his mind. The oath's whole force depends on him believing in the punishment, and he's already seen the punishment and stopped believing in it. Then consider who's holding the candle. These are men who go to mass and keep girlfriends and steal from each other's crews. Paulie is the most superstitious person in the building, and his faith runs on a payment schedule. A mass card here, an argument with a psychic there. None of it ever reaching the work he does for a living. Not one man standing in that room believes the oath binds him. For them, this portion of the evening exists to remind the new guy what happens if he ever talks to the government. It's a warning dressed as a sacrament, and Christopher is the only person present receiving it as a sacrament. Then the blood, which is supposed to certify that he earned his place. He didn't. He's inside because of whose son he is and because Tony put his name forward, and the episode is named for a Creedence song about the rich man's kid who gets handed things while other people go off and get shot at. He's the boss's nephew. The pricked finger is a symbol standing in for a blood relation that had already opened the door for free. A ritual solemnly conferring something he was given at birth. And the same hour of television has Tony in Melfi's office finally getting to the bottom of his panic attacks. The meat, his father. The memory of watching what his old man did to a butcher who owed money, and the boy's fascination with it. The business handed down to him like an inherited illness he never chose to contract. One of them spends that night working out what this life has taken out of him and where the damage started. The other spends it swearing loyalty to the same thing in blood, delighted. Neither ever finds out what the other's evening was like, and neither could have told the other anything useful anyway. Then Paulie sits him down about the money. What he owes now, to whom, how often, permanently, and you watch Christopher's face adjust in real time, because the substance of the sacrament turns out to be a tax, a percentage upward forever, paid to men who are permitted to kill him. Less of what he earns belongs to him than belonged to him yesterday. He is less free than he was that morning, not more. What he actually acquired was the right to be spoken about in a certain tone of voice. There's a worse detail sitting underneath that one. He's pledging loyalty to a family that recently killed Pussy for cooperating with the FBI. One of Tony's oldest friends, a man who'd been in that same room, sworn the same words, held the same burning card. Everyone watching Christopher's candle knows exactly what these pledges withstand under pressure. The oath binds him and doesn't bind them. Over the years that follow, Tony beats him, humiliates him in front of the crew, tolerates and then weaponizes his addiction, and finally reaches into an overturned car on a dark road and pinches his nose shut, which leaves Adriana. When the FBI turn her, she carries it alone for a long time. She's sick with it. Physically, her stomach goes. She can't eat. She's held together with nothing. And when she finally tells him, the two of them sitting in the car and both of them destroyed, there are a few seconds where leaving is genuinely available. New Mexico, she says. He thinks about it. You can see him think about it. Then he drives to Tony's house, and Silvio takes her out to the woods on a pretext, and she runs, and she doesn't get far. He kept the oath. That's the part that doesn't let go of you. Not that he betrayed something, that he didn't. He did exactly what the burning saint required of him, chose the family over the person, and got nothing back for it. He goes home to the same crew, the same envelope every week. The same men talking to him like he's still fetching coffee. Whatever he handed her over to never notice she was gone. It didn't reward him, didn't thank him, didn't treat him differently the following Tuesday. The institution he sacrificed her for wasn't capable of registering the sacrifice. And notice what that costs him specifically, given who he is. He gave up the only person who ever confirmed him. She was the audience, the one who looked at him after the ceremony like it meant something. Getting rid of her means the one thing he actually got that night, the witness, is gone too. He spends the rest of the series with the arc he wanted, and nobody watching it. What's left, then, is the distance between being let in and actually arriving somewhere. His entire life disappears into that gap. It isn't a gap unique to the mafia. Most people meet a quieter version of that same night, the offer letter, the gown and the handshake and the family photographs afterward. The ring. The first shift with the badge on and the uniform that still smells. New. Somebody with authority says you're one of us now, and it lands hard, and somebody at home looks at you differently over dinner. Then it's Tuesday. The work is the work. There are new people you owe things to and fewer hours that belong to you. And the feeling from the ceremony has to be recalled rather than felt. That doesn't make any of it a con. Institutions aren't lying when they induct people. The membership is usually real enough. What happens is that people fall for the depiction rather than the life. Being a doctor rather than the doctoring. The wedding photographs rather than the marriage. The job as it looked on television. Or in the recruitment brochure. Or in the anecdote your uncle told at Christmas 20 years ago. The depiction is what gets committed to. And what's actually underneath only becomes legible from the inside. Usually around the point where getting back out has started to cost something. The reason it holds is rarely stupidity either. It's that admitting the mistake means admitting the best night of your life was a scene rather than a beginning, and most people would rather keep paying than accept that. So they stay, and get better at it, and tell the story of the ceremony to the next person coming in. Christopher is an extreme case in the details, because his depiction happened to be a Scorsese picture, and his resignation was enforceable by homicide. In shape, he's completely ordinary. He wanted his life to look like something from the outside, and he got a version of that, and the outside was the only place it ever looked good. He spent his life complaining he had no arc. He got one. It ends on the side of a road, with his uncle leaning in through the window.